Hey, good afternoon, Dan.
I know, I know.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me? Just so you gentlemen know, this is launched live right now on YouTube, so that our members can start logging in to watch.
Hello, Shakira, how are you? Good, just joined on. Are we still looking at 2 o'clock at the kickoff? Okay, perfect. I got it. Let me poke it open and put this. I have the Zoom already open, so I'm going to put that on mute. I think we can be forgiven. So
Good morning.
Now we're off mute. Morning, David. Hi,
Morning.
David. Morning. Our camera's not on. All right, I need to pull this up. So I'll just switch from sharing that screen to sharing this screen. I think so. Should we share this?
Dan?
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. As we said in the Navy, used to say time, tide, and formation waits for no one. So it's 2 o'clock, the start of our meeting. We'll go ahead and kick off. As always, we start with a Pledge of Allegiance. So if you could please stand and join me if you have a flag in your office. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
And to the republic for
which it stands.
one nation, under God, indivisible, with for all.
Thank you.
Oh, we still need to stand for the national anthem. That's right.
Shakira, do we have the music for the national anthem?
We do. So let's
Okay,
stand.
then. Well, let's stand for our national anthem as well. Thank you. Well, good afternoon and good morning to some of you on the West Coast. Welcome to our 2020 virtual annual business meeting. My name is Dan Felice. I'm the chairman of the board of directors. I live in Maryland, but I'm originally from California. I left California in 1993, back when you could still rent U-Hauls to leave that state. I attended the United States Naval Academy, Beat Army. I was commissioned in 97 and served as a submarine officer. When I left active duty, I joined the Naval Reserves and I worked at the Naval Research Lab here in DC. I've been serving as the AUSN's board chairman for the last 6 months, having previously served as vice chair. I'll get a chance later to introduce the current vice chair, who is no stranger to anybody on this call or meeting, and that's Joe Quaglino. So I wanted to start by thanking and congratulating our headquarters staff for all their diligent work in preparing for this virtual annual business meeting. No small task, a lot of technology, a lot of moving parts, having to learn new tricks. I think it's evident that this pandemic has changed everyone's life. So we're borrowing a Marine Corps slogan for this annual business meeting: improvise, adapt, and overcome. That's what we've done, and that's what we'll continue to do to better serve you, our members. I'm glad we were able to hold this meeting today on October 13th, which is considered the birthday of the United States Navy. It was a suggestion from our most immediate past president, Dave Bradley. As you can see in the background here, I'm in my DC office. I work around Congress and government relations, and I follow a lot of debates in Congress. One congressional debate I wish I could have watched was that debate on October 13th, 1775, during the Continental Congress's meeting in Philadelphia, when they voted on a resolution to fit out 2 sailing vessels manned by a crew of 80 and send them on a 3-month cruise to intercept British transport ships. That was the original legislation out of which the Continental Navy grew, and as such constitutes the birth certificate of our Navy. Why was this such an interesting debate? Well, it's important to remember that in 1775, the British unequivocally held superiority at sea. The establishment of a Navy seemed way too bold of a move for most of the delegates in that Continental Congress. Another interesting aspect was that most Southerners believed that a fleet would only protect and secure trade in New England and not the Southern colonies. Many in Congress also thought a break with England wasn't a done deal and reconciliation was still possible, and that a Navy would solidify US sovereignty and independence. Finally, as I mentioned earlier, many delegates thought the establishment of a Navy would be a fool's errand to challenge the mightiest fleet the world's ever seen with the British Navy. Nevertheless, Rhode Island's delegates laid before Congress this bold resolution for building and equipping an American fleet. When the motion came to the floor, Samuel Chase of Maryland attacked it by saying it was the maddest idea in the world to think of an American fleet. Even pro-Navy members found the proposal was way too vague and lacked specifics, and no one could tell how much it would really cost. What swayed the final vote was a letter from George Washington that was read in Congress, in which he reported that he had taken under his command at continental expense 3 schooners to cruise off of Massachusetts to intercept other British supply ships. The commander-in-chief had preempted members of Congress. Since they had already armed vessels cruising in their name, it was not such a big step for Congress to prove 2 more. So the motion passed and the rest is history. I guess nothing's really changed with Congress, and they continue to be as brave and bold as they were on that day in 1775, approving something they thought was already going forward without them. Why do I bring this up? Well, it's really important for AUSN to continue to be the voice of the American sailor and support our US Navy. Congress needs to hear from us, and they will. Whether it's toxic exposure legislation or funding to help rebuild our fleet, we'll be leading the voice on Capitol Hill. I wanted to mention a few other things that's going on at AUSN headquarters. As every President State of the Union address likes to say, I'll say it here, that the state of AUSN is strong. We have a plan in place to become fiscally strong. We have a plan in place to rebuild our chapters and attract new members. We have a plan in place to improve our outreach to our current members through webinars, forums, and Zoom calls like we're on now. I hope you can stay on the call a little bit longer to hear from our staff on some of these really exciting initiatives. But I'll just close my remarks by saying the future of AUSN is bright. This is a great organization to be part of. I want to thank everyone here for all you do to make it such a great organization. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to headquarters staff to review our agenda for today and maybe kick off once we do that with some of the exciting changes there at AUSN headquarters. Shakira?
Thank you, Dan. Hi, I wanted to introduce myself to our membership. I am Shakira Segundo. I have been with AUSN now for about 3 years. I'm happy to be here. Have seen many iterations of AUSN, and I have to say that it is a great time to be here. It's, I think, stressful all around because of everything that's happening in the economy, everything that's happening on a social level, and as we go through these presentations today, you're going to see just how AUSN is positioned to move forward. And how AUSN has addressed issues like COVID-19 with our membership, what they've responded to us, we've listened to, and what our plans are concerning that. As we go through the agenda, you'll note that there is no break in there, but I think somewhere in the midst of our reports, we're going to insert a break there. But we're pretty much going to power through We had very successful discussions yesterday with our AUSN Fund Board and our AUSN Board, and we're happy to present the findings of those to you today. Dan, do you want to talk about a few of the changes?
Thanks, Shakira. And again, we'll have a chance to meet the other headquarters staff as we go through the reports. But I guess it's important to start with some of the biggest changes, and that's, again, the departure of Admiral Cole, who was our last CEO. Admiral Cole tendered his resignation to the board back in June. He cited, for some of his reasons, the COVID, obviously the COVID affecting everybody and putting a lot, as Shakira said, strain on families and folks being worried. So I will say, though, that it did give us a chance to stop and rethink how we were doing business, take a closer look at our internal processes, and really relearn how we do business. So with that, we also made a decision to part with our fundraising group that we had under contract for the last 3 years. We found that to be an opportunity to bring some of that in-house. I always like to say, things that should be our core competency, like fundraising, like outreach to members, we need to do in-house and not outsource. The things that where it's not necessarily our core competency, we probably should outsource, and we're going to look to do that, especially when there's significant cost savings. And I'll speak to, again, along with those changes came a significant cost savings. What we're doing with that cost savings is we're cutting back on our burn rate of our investment account. We really want to use our investment account right now, which you'll see as our nest egg, something we're going to pass on to future board generations, future boards, to future members. And let's be honest, having a big investment makes us a really attractive partner for other associations. And that's what we want to do. And again, what you'll see in our plan is a lot of outreach, a lot of leveraging of relationships of people on this call. We're going to be working with all types of associations. We're already part of a number of coalitions. People are recognizing us as a real moving force in a lot of those coalitions. So we're going to keep that up. And with that, I think I'll turn it back over to you, Shakira. I know you wanted to go over a few successes, and I think it's appropriate you do that so you can take some credit.
I'd say this was a team effort. Right now, the AUSN staff consists of headquarters staff consists of myself. I was the CFO, still CFO, but also Chief Operating Officer at the moment. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Catherine Moats. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Catherine Moats. I'm a Director of Membership and Marketing here at AUSN.
And we have Dan Taylor on screen.
Yes, Dan Taylor, Director of Communications and Government Relations.
Okay. Just to start, I'm going to tag team this with Kate, but we've been having our former Navy Now forums have become webinars, and we've been having several of them on a monthly basis. Kate, do you want to tell us a little bit about those webinars?
Absolutely. Every month we have a different topic. This past month we had our chapter president, Paul Dillon, come and speak. He also works at the Retired Activities Office, and he went through a very detailed presentation on how to prepare for your retirement, how to utilize all the benefits that are out there that you earned. But previously we had one of our board of directors, David Barterman, come and speak on how to budget properly and how to plan for your retirement. All of these things are to help you aid you with your career as you progress, as you're transitioning out or you're just starting off your career and you're trying to figure out how to save and plan for the future. Another one of our webinars we had earlier on was with Dave Barterman and a few others talking about how to navigate your career in the Navy. But we're looking forward to introducing some more guests and hopefully add add value to our membership.
Thank you, Kate. One of the other things, and I'm going to attribute this to our former CEO, Admiral Cole, and Heidi, who was our former COO as well. They successfully moved our headquarter operations from Eisenhower Avenue to Richmond Highway, which is our new space that you see us in here. It was a significant savings to the organization in terms of rental. It is a more appropriate space for us. They did that all in the middle of COVID-19. Actually, Admiral Cole and Heidi single-handedly moved. Well, we had a moving company, but because of our social distancing requirements, they made sure that that was done before their departure. And I just want to say thank you to them for that, because it was a difficult time to embark on something like that, but it has produced significant savings for us. As such, Dan Felice mentioned earlier, we have we have cut our operating expenses majorly. And once we go in and start exploring our budget, you'll realize that as far as our building expenses are concerned, as far as staffing is concerned, we have really dived in to try and figure out how to be very efficient with where the association is at this point in time. And, we have projected budgeted years where we start adding staff back and we start adding resources back. And as the strategic plan goes through, so we're being very thoughtful about how we're spending our dollars and making sure that we're just not hemorrhaging cash for the sake of doing that. In fiscal year 20, as a result of the savings that we have done, we have reduced our operating deficit by $200,000. We were initially anticipating about a $600,000 deficit. It's down significantly. When we go further into it, you'll see we really did make some strides on our investments in terms of earnings and capitalized on those earnings on those investments. And as such, it's put us in a position with the plans that we have to be able to be more responsible about our investments and maintaining the corpus of those investments. And we'll go through that as we go through the rest of the reports. But I think those are significant things that we've been able to do this year because, as Dan Felice said, we were able to really stop and think about what it is we're doing. The budget that you're about to see is really shows that within the course of the next 2 years, we're looking at eliminating our deficit spending and actually operating in the black. And there are plans in place to ensure that that happens. So we're very excited about that. Dan Kelly. Dan?
Nope, I'm here. Thank you very much, Shakira.
Okay.
I appreciate that. Was working my way off the mute button, so apologize for the delay there.
No problem.
So thank you. As mentioned, the calendar year 21 budget was presented to the board yesterday and approved. We'll show you here a little bit on the overview of the 2020 projected year end, how we look to see as we're going to wrap it up and what we have in front of us for calendar year 21. So as mentioned, the board has been working very hard to ensure the revenue and the expenditures are clear and consistent here and consistent with the strategic objectives and the purpose of AUSN. So, of course, to do what we are charged to do, but in order to ensure a successful year. Throughout the meeting yesterday, there was great discussion on the many initiatives and the various activities that you've started to hear and you're about to hear today, and the leadership needed by the various subcommittees and throughout the association to meet the revenue projections. As you see here, while our projected calendar year 20 year-end revenue will decrease slightly from the plan, the year-end expenditures will also decrease, as Shakira mentioned. And the 21 budget is rather steady, whereas our expenditures are projected to continue to decrease. in 21, largely due to the restructuring of headquarters, as mentioned, and moving of the headquarters location to a more cost-effective lease. Shakir, is there anything you want to highlight specifically on this slide for our 2020 projected year end before we go on to the 21 budget? Just quickly, yeah, we'll bump over to the next slide for the 21 approved budget. I think the next slide has the details. There we go, that we want to see. So as we're aware, 20 was, an extraordinary unusual circumstance for everyone, right? And the resources identified for associations, they're just no different. We believe that realistically, we can sustain the revenue for 21. And with some continued modifications and adjustment, we're going to position for growth in 22, as previously mentioned. This coming year, we plan to pull less from the corporate investment, which is fabulous, and coupled with some other actions that that have resulted in lower operating expenses, we continue to progress towards a more balanced budget. And I must say, it's truly the result and actions of the many who preceded me here and those who lead the subcommittees for the association. I just get the opportunity to present the numbers here. So as you see in the bottom right of the quadrant, just some highlights, some key takeaways, listed some opportunities and some actions that are being presented and needed to meet the planned budget. And they include, as alluded to, bringing on a new director for business development to the HQ staff, who will lead many of the efforts moving forward this upcoming year and into the future. We may evaluate the options to revise the membership fee structure. A quick sidebar, it has been many, many years since the fee structures have changed. So likely nothing too dramatic, but we will pause and take a look at what that fee structure is. We'll continue to identify and collaborate with adjacent associations. Of course, there's strength across working together. So we will continue with those initiatives. Past and maybe some new ones as we move forward. And we're preparing to plan, for a special event towards the end of the calendar year, maybe early in the fall of 2021. And as well, we'll be incorporating some other actions that the Strategic Oversight Committee presents. Many of these initiatives and efforts you will, of course, lead to drive the revenue and move us forward with our expenditures along there. So while many of the initiatives are consistent with the way the association has raised funds or created revenue in the past, the board will be looking for new ways or new events to reinforce the branding of AUSN, reinforce that, and should contribute to our revenue moving forward. So due to a lot of significant effort and initiatives that you're hearing about today, we believe there is strength and a solid path forward for the association. As you can see in the upper right quadrant there, our projected year end is slightly less than what was initially budgeted. In the greenmost column to the right, we're pretty steady state for revenue. Our expenditures are decreasing slightly, and it's resulting in a lesser amount of the investment contributions moving forward. Mr. Chairman, I hope that covers it fairly well. Pending any comments or questions, sir.
Thank you, Dan. That was perfect. I'll turn it back over to headquarters staff to keep the agenda going, but thank you for that very in-depth review.
All right. In addition to what Dan Kelly just said, I thought we needed to inform the membership that per our bylaws, we typically do biannual audits. Considering the events of 2020 were significant. In 2020, we were scheduled to do a review. We voted on the board yesterday to have an audit for 2020 instead. And so effectively, we're pushing our schedule a little out to accommodate for a year that requires a little bit more attention. Did you want to talk about this, Dan, or shall I?
Oh, please.
Okay. Well, as Dan Felice mentioned earlier, we're taking a closer look at our investments, and quite frankly, AUSN has been quite lucky, as have most people, with what the market has been doing over the course of the last year. There's been highs and lows, and AUSN managed to really capitalize on some of those highs. Now, is that a responsible way for an organization to operate? Long term, absolutely not. And that is why we are, now in a state of trying to preserve that fund and reduce our deficit spending so that we don't have to go into it that much. That said, initially at the beginning of this year, we anticipated when we went into this year's budget that we would need to use $800,000 of reserves to help fund the operations that were planned for this year. Of course, because of savings, because of various things, we ended up only using $600,000 of that. That said, we started the year with a $4.5 million investment portfolio. With taking out $600,000 and moving $400,000 to a CD, which is a total of $1 million, we effectively still, as of today, have a balance of $4.1 million in that investment. So that was great, and it really helped, particularly in a year when we needed it. But moving forward, the association realizes this is not necessarily a healthy way to operate, so we're really going to be clamping down on trying to manage our investments in a less aggressive way that maintains the corpus of that investment for future boards and future members to come. The next slides are really for, your personal edification in terms of just how the investments are allocated amongst cash and fixed income and equity vehicles. We're going to move to fundraising if there aren't any questions. All right. So in fiscal year 2020, AUSN raised $249,000. In fiscal year 2019. Pardon me for the typo. But in fiscal year 2020, we are currently at $93,000. That is based on several things. Obviously, we're all in a year where not much activity has happened, and everyone has been, particularly philanthropists, have not been so ready to give because of the COVID-19 situation. Quite frankly, that is predominantly one of the reasons why we're looking at such low numbers. We're anticipating that we're probably going to end there at about maybe $120,000 by the end of the fiscal year once we do that final appeal. But as such, as mentioned earlier, we are on the search for a business development director. That business development director will come in and pick up where our former fundraising group left off and potentially help move the organization forward, from an internal position. We ourselves here at headquarters, along with the board and along with, a couple of other advisors, have really sat down and thought about leads, sponsors, different initiatives that we could use to move our fundraising opportunities forward. On the screen, you can see our 2021 corporate sponsor leads. Many of these people are current sponsors. Capital Bank with David Vardaman, Delta Dental, who provides us with $20,000 worth of scholarships every year. In the past, we've had USAA. We're going to go back to USAA, and we'll keep going back until they tell us yes. But at the same time, if they tell us no, we're going to Navy Federal Credit Union. But these are a few of the leads that we have, and I implore you, as we have implored our board, if you know anyone, have any insight, have know of any institution or organization that would like to support our mission and what AUSN stands for, please feel free to send me an email or Kate an email. Once that business development director comes on board, they'll be handling this entirely. But fundraising is not just the business development director's job. It is the staff, the board, the entire membership's prerogative. We love this association. We love what it stands for. We're here to be the voice of America's sailors, and even more so, particularly in this time, to find out what it is our sailors who are enlisted, our sailors who are retired, what those needs are, and expanding our reach as we find that there are needs that arise. So I am imploring you all to reach out to us if you have any ideas or you have any connections or you have any leads that would be useful to us. So we've got some potential events here, potentially happening next year. And I say potential because we have no idea what COVID's going to do. And so the good thing is that, and we had this conversation yesterday at our board meeting, was that, you know, because of this situation, this pandemic, we've all been forced to do everything in a virtual setting. And it now appears, and you know, we'll send out a survey at the end of this annual business meeting to determine how you felt this virtual platform worked. I know in prior years we've had our annual business meetings either in Washington D.C. or San Diego, and you know, we have a very wide membership, and not everyone can travel. So I'm at some point moving forward, whether COVID stays or goes, we will be implementing a virtual segment of our annual business meeting moving forward, so that our members can participate and be a part of it wherever we are. I'm going to pass this over to Kate to talk a little bit about, questions. None heard. Go ahead, take the floor.
So here we're going to give you a good idea of our membership as it stands now. We've seen a slight decrease this year from 13,000 to 12,400 members. This is just can be attributed mostly to our membership is just aging out. So this, hopefully our events and our fundraising events that we're going to be doing next year, we're hoping to target the younger demographic more so with those events. You can also see on here that the majority of our memberships are made up by 3-year memberships, which is, you know, our $105 membership, which we can deduct from that our membership can afford for an increase in membership fees. And so we would like to start considering that and create a discussion about increasing our membership fees slightly, considering we haven't increased them in 15 years. Next year, you can see that we saw a slight decrease when coronavirus first came out for membership renewals, but we're picking right back up now. You see in September, our monthly renewals are picking right back up. So we're not too concerned about the virus affecting our membership fundraising. This just shows new members, and I see it's dropped off here the past couple years. And this is, we're trying to figure out what happened in 2003, because whatever we were doing was amazing. And we heard from a couple of our board members, Dave Bradley, saying that that year, him and another one of our board members, Joe Paglino, were hitting all of the symposiums and recruiting like crazy. So we really like to encourage people, if you have a local VSO gathering and you'd like to have some AUSN material, shoot me an email. I'll send you brochures, I'll send you magazines, I'll send you everything you need to set up a little booth there. And help, we could use any help we can to get the word out about AUSN and the resources we have available to help sailors.
I'm just going to go over quickly the findings of the COVID-19 survey that we sent to the membership. I will say of our 12,410 members, we had about 360 responses.
Mm-hmm.
The predominant, those who responded, as you can see on the yellow bar, were retired, and next active officers, and then former officers. It's very telling when you see that active enlisted doesn't even represent a bar on there. So that is obviously something that we have, we need to engage with that demographic, and that is going to be a major focus of AUSN come next year. As we go on to the next slide, 50% or more indicated that they had increased spending in supplies and cleaning because of COVID-19. They increased spending because of food, and I can attest to that because my child is home and eating me out of home and land. There are other expenses that came up as a result of this, and I'm sure, it has to do with, masks and transportation and just staying home and increased utilities and all those things. So I think I want to go to the next slide. The good thing here is that there was not significant financial impact from COVID-19 on our membership. Predominantly, I'm sure, because a lot of folks have retirements plans and are not depending on a paycheck. There was another slide that I didn't include here, but it was, trying to find out who had to go for unemployment, but most people are federally employed, so that was a non-issue. But I mean, nonetheless, we still do have about 15% of folks who there was a financial impact. And when we look at the next slide, you see the most critical needs that were indicated. The number one critical need at 65% was food and groceries. Number two was cleaning equipment and gear. And I'm sure we all know that because nobody could find Lysol or alcohol anywhere in the midst of the pandemic. It's slowly coming back. I mean, I've never seen so many different iterations of hand sanitizers in my life, but here we are. And medical health, there was an issue. I mean, obviously medical health because of the requirements, the social distancing requirements of COVID-19, the whole issue of people being able to go to hospitals and, surgeries being suspended and put off and, but what this did tell us is that there is a need. There's several areas of need in our membership during this time that we hear you. And we are going to do everything we can to help. Now, in order to help, we need funds. So that said, I think one of the initiatives that we're looking to do, and I mean, it may seem small at this point, but we will be sending out a care package to our membership. You'll hear more about that later. Whether you responded to this survey or not, it's just a token of AUSN that we're all in this together. All right. Any questions?
Dan? Taylor?
Hello, everyone. Good to see you all. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Great. Okay. So I'll just go through the government affairs update. We had a busy year since the last meeting. We've been holding monthly government affairs committee meetings. We may up that to twice a month. Still looking into that. We have either authored or signed on to a total of 58 letters since the last annual meeting in October 2019. We joined the Team Coalition in early 2020. That's sort of a broad effort to enact legislation to tax tackle toxic exposure, which is our top issue. So this is a comprehensive legislation that would, both provide benefits to anyone suffering exposure from burn pits or Agent Orange, as well as get out ahead of the issue and be more proactive and make sure that, veterans are covered going forward. So the TEAM Act, that saw some success. The Senate Veterans Affairs Committee just passed that, and I was just at a Team Coalition meeting earlier today where we talked about the introduction in the House, which we actually weren't expecting. We don't expect any movement on that for the rest of the year just because it's an election year, 3 weeks till the election. But this is good groundwork for the next year. We're hopeful that maybe we can get something passed by then. So, that's something we continue to follow and continue to support. We are in the midst of putting together a congressional outreach strategy for the 117th Congress. That includes, hopefully, the virus situation will have maybe be a little bit better in time for late January so we can do some office visits, which has been challenging for the last 7 months for sure. But we're hopeful that, we'll certainly be prepared when things do open up and we can start making those outreach to some of the new members of Congress and, sort of develop those relationships. We are tracking more legislation of interest with the bill tracker that we've developed, and we're continuing to update that. It just keeps us more organized and so we can see some of the bills, just have a good overview of some of the bills that are important to us. Next slide. Okay, communications update. We published a magazine this spring, and I have just finalized copy for the fall 2020 issue. I expect that will make it into mailboxes or start heading to mailboxes by early November. We're just starting to lay the design out for that, so look out for that. Meanwhile, we're also continuing our outreach to membership with the weekly SITREP email. That should be arriving in your inboxes each Monday. Please reach out if you are not getting it. We definitely want you to continue to be getting those. That just lays out exactly what's going on a weekly basis in the organization. We are publishing multiple articles to the website each week, just updates on things like the TEAM Act passing or any other news of interest to anyone who served in the Navy. So check our website regularly. There's a lot of good information there, as well as just updates on events like this one. We are working on some future developments to the website, such as a section dedicated to chapters. And the bullet I don't have on there, and I know we've mentioned it, are the webinars, of course, and we're continuing to develop those. COVID was a bit of a disruption this summer, but we're getting back into doing those. We've had a couple recently. I think we can get in one more before the end of the year, possibly looking at toxic exposure on the legislation side, and then we'll sort of plot out 2021 as the new year approaches. So a lot of things going on, and that about wraps it up for me.
Thank you, Dan. Back to you, Dan Felice.
Thanks, Shakira, and thank you, staff, for all those great reports. I noticed I got a message that says they're not able to ask questions on the YouTube. Is that a function? Should we take a look at that function, or is it working now?
They should be. There's a chat section on the right side. I'm actually talking to someone right now on it. So
okay. Well,
I think it's working.
Once they pull up the YouTube, there should be a feature that says live chat. And that live chat will pull up the opportunity for them to say something.
Perfect. Well, I encourage everyone to use these chat functions. It's a great way to communicate back to us what your any questions you have, what things, some of the things you like, what you're hearing or don't like. That's great feedback. So the future of AUSN, I think I alluded to this earlier in my opening remarks. It's couldn't be brighter, and I'm really wanting to strike an optimistic tone here because I do believe it, and two, that's really what the metrics are telling us. So I will go back to the fact that a lot of associations weren't necessarily doing as well as we were. I think you probably saw the Army Association, for example, the Association United States Army, which has 33,000 members. They weren't able to have an annual business meeting. So they took our lead and did a virtual business meeting. It's Army, so probably not as good, and they probably didn't get the technology right. But you know, we can always give them a hand, and we may do that. But as we said earlier, a lot of what we're trying to do at headquarters, I said this yesterday in our board meeting, I look at it as, you know, a get right season. We really needed to get a handle on the financial picture. We needed to plot out a path that provides financial solvency well into 2021 and 2022. So that was kind of the big focus, and why we probably started a lot of the reporting today with the budget. So we want to keep updating you on that budget. We're going to keep working it and tweaking it. There's always great opportunities for cost savings, but we're also going to be looking at the revenue side. And I think that was a big point, as you heard in the fundraising and membership, where we're going to be directing a lot of our staff effort, a lot of our board of directors' time and attention to creating opportunities to generate revenue that will not only fund operations, but also begin to build back up that investment nest egg we have. And that's really exciting. You know, as far as we mentioned a business development director that we're going to be hiring here at the close of the year. Again, I'll ask everyone on this call, if you know people, if you have suggestions. We do have a job description we're going to be releasing soon through some of the publications, but I always believe word of mouth and referrals from friends are the best way to hire the best people. And so if you guys know people that you work with in the past, I will say, you know, if we had a perfect world and we could find that perfect person, which sometimes you can't, but we're going to try. I really envision this being a younger person, someone with a lot of energy that maybe their first career out of college. Why, you know, and that's not to say that we don't value experience, but as you heard today, we want to reach out to the younger members. We want to reach out to some of those active duty enlisted. You know, they're under 30. We need someone that can talk their language and appeal to them on their social media. So that's something I think you'll see, and it could be an exciting development. And I also like the idea of growing our own talent. I mean, we got a lot of great people on our board of directors, amazing experiences. I was last night at headquarters with CB Davis, a new board member of ours. We were participating on a virtual happy hour, which I think I'm going to do more of those. Those were fun. And we got to hear from a lot of you folks and telling these amazing stories of all the great things you've done. Man, that's gold. That's gold to these kids. I mean, they want to hear that, and they need to hear it. I don't think they're getting it, honestly, anywhere else anymore. So we can fill a role there. And I will go back to the fact that, you know, we need to be active in Congress. And I appreciate what Dan was saying and giving his rundown. But Congress needs to hear from us. These are going to be, we're going to be moving forward in some really troubling budget times. They're going to be trying, as they've tried already, to spend themselves out of a crisis here. That only gives me a bit of pause and thought that when the budget cracks down do happen, it's going to really hurt veterans, and it's really going to hurt our members. So we're going to be up there every day telling the good story, making sure the needs are communicated, making sure the VA is well staffed, well funded. They have great policy in place where everyone can get the help they need. And you know, losing all these veterans to suicide is just a tragedy. So you can see more of that activity for us moving ahead. And I'll just close out by saying, you know, while we plot our course and again, future bright, it's always great to look behind us and take stock of all the great people we've had involved in our organization, all the great executive directors we've had who've done great work. And really, and our thoughts and prayers go out with some of the folks that aren't with us, couldn't be on this call. It's been a tough year. We've lost a lot of great friends, a lot of great sailors. But thank you, everyone. Thanks for being a part of this. And now I'll turn it back to headquarters to move on with some more fun awards.
So, next slide. So every year at our annual business meeting, we have given awards, and we typically give awards to members or, members of AUSN who have gone above and beyond in serving AUSN and its membership. This year, the board has created a new award called the Legacy Award. And this award really goes to those long timers who've been here since the Naval Reserve Association days, through the transition. They've been through the trenches with us. They've been through the highs, the lows, and they're still here. And so it is, I think it would probably be best coming from you, Dan, but we have these gentlemen's plaques right here in front of us. We're very happy to award. It says, in recognition and appreciation of many years of dedicated service to the Association of the United States Navy, for his commitment and perseverance to America's sailors, their families, and AUSN, set the standard by which all shall follow. This Legacy Award is being presented to Lieutenant Commander David Bradley.
Yay!
It'll be there soon. And then next, Dave's partner in crime, who who has been here, and it's, having an annual business meeting without Dave Bradley or Joseph Quaglino is like, but we couldn't help it because it is COVID-19 and we got a social distance. And let me preface this by saying Kate and I have been social distancing since the beginning, which is why we're not wearing masks. Together. We've been social distancing together or quarantining together. So we're fine here, but please wear your masks. But Joe Quaglino, it is my pleasure to present this award to you. It's the pleasure of the board to present this award to you, and I'm sure the membership feels the same way.
Yay.
Now, both Joe Quaglino and David Bradley serve on the board of directors of AUSN. Joe Quaglino is also the chair of the board of the AUSN Fund, which is our scholarship arm, and chapter president. And I'll add a little fun detail, which most of you probably already know, that Dave Bradley was our last standing president of the AUSN, of AUSN, before we switched our structure. The third and final recipient of the Legacy Award is being presented to Captain Aaron G. Bresnahan. You want to give a little background on Aaron?
Aaron was one of our past national presidents as well. He served on the board. He's currently the chairman of our AUSN Fund Board that's in charge of our scholarship. Aaron has also been running the Southeast region for our chapters. He's down in Florida now. He used to be up in Virginia Beach, but he always goes above and beyond to help us out wherever we need help. I know if I need someone for something, all I have to do is email Aaron and he's jumping on it and helping me right away with anything that AUSN needs. So thank you so much, Aaron.
So can I ask Dave Bradley if he has anything that he would like to say to our membership?
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for their support. Also, this award was highly unexpected. I think both Joe and Aaron would just say that we're just doing our job. And it gives us something to do because Joe and I are both retired. I got to say that Joe roped me into the Naval Reserve Association right when I got commissioned as a warrant officer in 1979. And he's been kind of pulling me along. I mean, I got this collar around my neck. So whatever I've done, it was at Joe's, it was his idea. Blame him for all of this. That's fine. And thank you very much. I very appreciate the recognition.
You're welcome.
Joe, would you like to say anything?
I'm at a loss for words.
That's a first.
First off, I do sincerely appreciate the consideration and the award. I'm not big on getting recognition. I'm just kind of a quiet person that likes to work in the background. Isn't that right, Dave?
Oh, yeah, right. He probably spent more time up on the hill and with Navy leadership than any person before or after.
Well, that was an interesting time when I was national president. Yes, I did have my dance card prepared when I went back to headquarters, and I spent time in the Pentagon and Capitol Hill representing our sailors, and we were well received. I've seen a lot of history. I've been in this club for many decades, and what keeps me going is I want to do my best for our association, and what helps me is people like Dave and others along the way who are not with us anymore that have supported, and together we keep plodding along to make things better. And right now I'm really excited, so to speak, that we have a core group of headquarters staff and board of directors that are all working together, and I'm really excited about how we are taking a hard look at how to move forward in the challenging times. And thank you again very much.
Aaron, would you like to say a few words?
You have to unmute him, Kate?
We're trying to.
He has to do it himself. I can just ask him. Maybe he had to step away for a second.
He's on a plane to get his award.
There you go. Save me the postage.
Little buttons over to the side.
Yeah.
But while we're waiting for Aaron, I think we could all, probably tell a lot of stories about Joe, David, and Aaron. This could probably quickly turn into a roast rather than what it's supposed to be, an honorific, momentous occasion. But
Sounds a lot better.
No, we'll save that for the happy hour.
Yes, Navy birthday happy hour later this evening.
But I will just again thank you guys for all you've done. We need to acknowledge that we're only here because we're standing on your shoulders. This wouldn't be an organization without you folks. So thank you.
Right.
Aaron Bresnahan.
Okay, we'll catch him later.
Yeah, we'll catch Aaron later.
Next, I would like to introduce our chapter presidents. We have chapter presidents located all over the country. And we're lucky enough to have some of them on this call today. So I'd like them to take a few minutes to introduce themselves, tell the membership about their background and where they're located.
And what you're working on.
And what you're working on. And I think it's only appropriate. Ladies first, Carol Culbertson, would you like to start us off?
Thank you, Kate. Hi, everybody. I'm Carol Culbertson, Captain USN Retired Intelligence Community. I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and I am I'll just mention I'm the CEO of the USS Phoenix SSN 702 Fast Attack Submarine Cold War Monument. And the monument will honor Cold War veterans from 1946 to 1991. Our website, ussphoenixmonument.org. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you, Carol. All right, let's move on to Bill Tate. Can you take it from there?
Yes, I'm over the Columbus, Ohio chapter, one of 3 chapters in Ohio, along with Cincinnati and Columbus. You don't think of Ohio as having a particularly big Navy footprint, but borrowing a leaf from Dan Felice's introductory statements, one of the Navy's most glorious moments was the naval battle off some Ohio islands in western Lake Erie, where Commodore Perry pretty much sealed the outcome of the War of 1812. So we take pride in that. Our chapter here is working mostly with the Ohio State University, big school that it is, has a pretty sizable Navy ROTC program, and there are also 4 junior ROTC Navy programs here in this area. So we're engaging with them to spread awareness and try to cultivate some future members. Columbus is also the site of the still relatively new National Veterans Memorial and Museum. It's not a place where you go to see a bazooka or a 50 caliber machine gun, but its focus is telling the story of the servicemen, and they do a marvelous job of that through a number of educational stops. So we're looking forward to the year coming up and engaging with our colleagues in the other chapters and with the staff and indeed with everyone on this conversation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bill. Jeff McFedridge, can you take over next?
Yeah, good afternoon. This is Jeff McFedridge. Basically, I'm retired out of the Naval Reserve in 2008. I came back to duty out of ROTC at the University of Pennsylvania. I won't tell you when. And went into aviation, flew in the fleet, got into the reserves, became an AEDO, Aeronautical Engineering Duty Officer, mainly because of an engineering degree, and retired in 2008 out of the Joint Strike Fighter Office up in there in Crystal Gateway 4. While I was doing that, I retired out of civil service just 10 months ago. That Army Civil Service, no puns, please. And I worked a lot of Army activities, including AUSA, so I know a little bit about that organization as well. Our chapter here in Northern Alabama, as it stands right now, basically it's just still a startup. It started back in March of this year. We are essentially working on, we got a place to, I actually have monthly meetings at the American Legion. We did recruiting. That's our main focus right now is recruiting. Our vision is to get into helping out Auburn University, their NRTC. Also, there's 2 JNRTC here in Alabama. You wouldn't think that. Being Huntsville, Alabama, where I'm currently located, is an Army town. There is a sizable Navy presence here. We kind of hide from the Army guys, I think. So that's really where we are. We look forward to a lot of growth in our chapter. and to be involved more as we go along. That's all I have.
Thank you, Jeff. Tom, can we take over next? Tom Snyder, you need help unmuting? Oh, I lost my. All right, well, we're gonna go to Bill Johansson now, and then we'll come back to Tom. Maybe he's having some technical difficulties. Oh, there it goes.
But unmute myself here. Bill, retired captain, and I moved down here from New Hampshire about 7 years ago, and I was involved with the NRA up there at the time, and we worked hard to try and get the word out there. Coming down here, there was really no active chapter actually in the Southeast region at the time. And we still obviously lack activity in many areas. But since I live in the Jacksonville area, had been trying to focus on building some kind of chapter activities, primarily within Mayport or NAS Jacksonville. And over the years, we had some success in recruiting and supporting some activities, and for a variety of reasons waned off a couple of years ago. And because of COVID now, to rebuild back up, it's been a little bit difficult, but we've got two focuses. First of all, as retired, I live in a retirement community. What our objective is to take the retirement community and build a robust subchapter in the area, more focused on retired people. And relative to the active duty folks, we really need to find some leadership that are closely associated with either NAS Jax or Mayport, so that we can try and rebuild our attachment to the active duty people. So that's kind of where we're going right now.
Great plan, great plan.
Is Tom back?
Tom, you want to give it a shot again? Oh, okay. It looks like that's all the chapter presidents we have on the call right now, but just so you know, we have chapter in Groton, Connecticut. We have one starting up in Virginia Beach. We have one in Arizona, San Diego, New York. Tom was the New York, Long Island chapter. Let's see, we have one in Oklahoma, Ohio, Florida. I'm probably forgetting a few more, but we have our chapters listed on our website under membership. So if you'd like to get in contact with the chapter president in your area, you can find that information on the website, or you can email me at membership@ausn.org. Shakira?
All right, let's get back to the screen. I think that about does it, which means that we literally did an hour for a 3-hour 3-hour planned meeting.
Well done, everyone.
Well done. Dan?
Hey, thank you. I always tell, we start every board meeting, and I always remind everyone, Joe Quaglino and I have a saying that any meeting that goes longer than an hour, you start to lose your audience, and it be real diminishing return. So bravo, everyone, for making this such an efficient and effective meeting. I can't thank everyone enough for your participation. This has been a great start to a new year. Like I said, a very exciting year we're going to be seeing. You know, I think it's, you know, to close out, it's probably been said before, I'll say it again. We're passing through a really interesting time here. a lot of unrest, social, political, business unrest. But I think we as patriots, as members of AUSN, we should never forget that there is more that unites us than divides us. I want AUSN to be a shining example of that sentiment. So I know when you're talking to your chapters, we're going to do our best to equip you with all the resources that we can muster here, so you can go out and build those bridges and make people realize that we're all in this together, and AUSN is going to come out of this stronger than ever. So thank you again.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I just wanted to remind everybody once more that this evening we're going to be having our Navy birthday happy hour. We're going to have some cocktails here at the office and cut some cake. So be sure to log back in later for that. You can find the link for that on our Facebook page, and we just emailed it out as well, so it should be in your email. If you have any problems, feel free to shoot me an email.
And for those of you who didn't join our happy hour yesterday, it was quite fun. We couldn't get ourselves to get off.
Yeah.
So
we almost missed our
we
reservation.
almost missed our reservation at the restaurant. So please join us. We look forward to it. And maybe in the future, we'll have a happy hour every month with our chapters and our board and our membership.
Can you teleport drinks like the Starship Enterprise? Or?
We're working on it.
Just gotta time our Uber Eats orders appropriately.
No, but you know what we'll do? We will share a drink recipe and make sure we all come on with that drink, and we can toast or have our drinking game. And for those of us who don't drink, we can bring our.
Doesn't drink. This is the Navy.
This is the Navy. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. Does anyone else have anything for us?
I have something if you have a moment.
Sure.
I was impressed with all the activities here, and I'd like to thank Kate and Sakura for doing a super job. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you, Joe.
Yep.
I'd also like to mention, and I brought this up yesterday, that headquarters is now running much more efficiently than it has in the last 4 or 5 years. So kudos to everybody back there.
Thank you, David. All right. Well, we will see you at happy hour at 5 Eastern.
Yes, Eastern Standard Time, which means West Coasters, you got an excuse to start drinking earlier.
Well, that's early for Joe and I to have a drink. That's
hasn't stopped you before.
It isn't going to stop me again.
no, it's not. And Dan, maybe I'll break out some of that screwball.
Oh, you please do, Dave. You got me hooked. You got me hooked.
All right, I'm going to end the meeting now. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye all.
Bye.